Hello and welcome back to my studio. Recently you may have seen a video I did, was a review about Rembrandt oil paints. And I mentioned in there that I thought these paints would actually be really good to use in the old master tradition. The Grisaille underpainting in a monochrome and then going over it with glazes and building up a painting like that. It's a great method to get that old master approach, and in some ways it makes the painting simpler to do. Build up the value structure, which is so important, and then add in the color. But my preferred method of painting is the direct approach, the sometimes alla prima, paint it all in one go method, or over some days or a week or whatever it may take, but to work with opaque paint and build up layers. Now another alternative is to try and combine the best approaches or best parts of each method. So I thought, why not try the monochrome approach using acrylics. You can build that up and establish your value structure pretty quickly. Acrylics dry nice and quick. Get that sorted out and then go over that with the oil paints. So that's what I did. I chose a still life study, 3 pears, sort of maybe a bit traditional, but with a bit of a difference as well. So I hope this demonstration is going to be of some help to you. It's definitely something you can try, and it might make the painting process a little bit more manageable for you. But one thing it's also really great at, and that is going to teach you how to see the value structure and focus on that before you get into the color stage. So it's actually an extremely valuable exercise you can do for any subject as well. But anyway, enough chat, let's get into the painting. Okay, I'm doing this painting on a primed panel, and just starting off with a very simple and brief drawing. No particular complication to the composition, just the 3 pears, and so draw them in, keep it nice and big, fill the canvas up. And what I'm going to do is mix up a dark color, which will be good for a Grisaille type of beginning. Just using some burnt sienna and ultramarine acrylic paint. Mix them together, get nice dark, almost like a burnt umber. And then obviously add some titanium white and just work out your values. I'm using a number 8 long flat synthetic brush, starting off just feeling my way around the painting at the moment, focusing on some of the darks, getting that in. So take your time and just work through this type of monochrome study. So one of the important things to remember with monochrome studies like this is you're focusing on the values. Values are the light and dark shapes making up your subject, and you are translating that into paint and putting it on your canvas. So a good tip to keep in mind when you are trying to work out the values of a painting is to squint a bit at your subject, so details disappear and you are left with the light and dark shapes. each subject, try and view it as made up of a jigsaw of different shapes. Each shape having a particular light or dark quality. Now, you can learn more about values. I go into that in a lot of detail in my course, Learn to Paint with Impact, and you will learn about the Munsell value scale and how that's been used to help you visualize, but also to categorize the degrees of light and dark into a scale of 1 to 10. And you can have your value scale on hand when you are working out your colors. Decide where the lights and darks and the middle values are going to be on your subject. Mix the monochrome color accordingly and put it down. Doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, but the important thing is that you work out your structure between light and dark and keep that in mind and try and stick to that in your painting. So this first pair, I'm just taking a bit of time showing you how I go about completing the first pair, and then we'll speed up through the remaining part of this monochrome. Other ways to also help you is to use a color spotter, which is really just a hole. It could be through a piece of card, and you try and look at the scene, or look at certain shapes and try and figure out and isolate those colors. Values are such an important part of every painting that the structure of a painting is based on values. Once you've worked out a composition, you need to get a good structure in place using values. And if you've got some dramatic lighting in your still life, you have a much better chance of having strong light and dark values. In this case, we have a few strong darks in the shadows, but in general the shapes are pretty much made up of middle values. Here I'm using a number 10 short flat to simply try and smooth out some of the edges and just get a somewhat more old look to the subject. Not too many glaring texture to the shapes, but I'll certainly will bring that in with the color layers later on. So you can see how this will help you with the color stage of any painting, and you can work out any painting in a monochrome study like this. It could be portrait, still life, landscape, doesn't matter. But if you want to study the values and get to know a value a lot better, then monochrome studies are extremely useful. I'll have a look at the background of this painting, and I'm already thinking of having a more textured background, so maybe the palette knife might come into it. But there's the pears, so some variety of shape and arrangement, and I think I'm happy with that, so let's just block in the background. Lighter color, lighter values around the dark parts of the pears and dark around the light, so keep that relationship in mind. In the next video we will get into adding the colors.